This episode is brought to you ad-free thanks to all of our wonderful patrons. You can get tons of exclusive content, help us keep the show running at patreon.com/ShonenFlop. Welcome to this episode of Shonen Flop, where we talk about manga in Shonen Jump that didn't make it big. I'm David.
I'm Jordan.
Next week, we're going to be covering Saint Muscle.
Ooh.
All I know is that MaxyBee has been waiting for that one. Be sure to join the discussion in our Discord and submit your 6-word summary. You can find a link to it in the show notes or on our site, shonenflop.com. But this week, we are talking about Full Drive, and we are joined today by the legendary MangaKamen.
Hello there, I'm MangaKamen. I am a video essayist, I like talking about video games, and I'm just a general goofball who just happened to be picked up on the street by these two.
Yeah, we just kind of found him outside, just like starving, and we took him in.
Yeah, a quarter for our podcast.
Raised him as one of our own. Taught him the ways of manga.
He had a sign that said, we'll go on a manga podcast for $5.
Yay.
We actually did have someone I reached out to being a guest, and they said, I'll come on your show for $100.
Whoa.
Yeah, you're like, we're good.
We're good.
But we are very excited. MangaKamen, I've really enjoyed videos. You talk a lot about Metal Gear Rising, which, always a plus.
Yeah.
Nano Machine, son.
Nano Machine, son.
It's actually our cover art for our Nano Hazard episode.
Wow.
Was just Metal Gear Rising fan art.
What's this one going to be? Like, nice knife, and we just break a ping pong paddle?
So we actually did the Prince of Tennis.
The Prince of Table Tennis.
That's actually what it says, is the Prince of Table Tennis.
Right.
Fucking art. So out of curiosity, just as contrast, I know you're not a big sports manga, but what would you say is like your favorite manga you're reading right now?
Actually, I'm trying to catch up with Mashal, Magic and Muscles at the moment.
We actually did an episode of Mashal.
I did a video on it just a couple weeks ago. I fell in love with the anime, and then I gotta dive into the manga now.
I gotta check out the anime because people seem to really like it.
Oh, it's so good, especially with the second opening, too. It's like, it's become a meme now.
I need to watch it. I am going through Freerun right now and Dungeon Meshi, so every once in a while I'll do like an anime preview night where I show my wife like 5 anime and we pick 1 or 2 of them to watch, and those were the 2 she picked from the last pool.
Nice.
Ooh.
She usually goes well. I tried showing her 100 Girlfriends and she lasted 8 minutes and said, I don't want to watch this anymore, so I feel really bad for the people. There's like a guy on our Discord who really, really loves it, which no pun intended, and I felt really bad because I was like, well, sorry, I didn't know she would absolutely hate this. No, it's fine. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But you know what is for everyone is ping pong. So why don't we dive into talking about this manga?
Oh boy.
Also, I have to say, best moment in Mashal was the suplex.
Oh yes.
Fucking that is, if that doesn't sell you on Mashal, nothing does. All right, so let's get into the manga details.
All right, so these are the manga details for Full Drive, made by Genki Ono. They were notably an assistant for Koji Miura of Blue Box. He helped him out for a while, drew an illustration for the author, and the author posted it on Twitter. Let me look at it real quick. Oh, that's a nice illustration. Anyway.
What a great comment for an audio-only medium.
Yeah, that's a nice illustration.
This is like when we do Jordan's recommendation for an episode a long time ago was just look at this painting.
Yeah. Yeah, look it up. Google it. I don't know.
Really taking Face for Radio to a whole new level, I guess. A manga for radio.
I'm just going to recommend a tweet one time and just read out the tweet.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the other thing that this guy did seems to just be a bunch of one-shots. I guess he didn't this guy kind of disappear strangely after...
Yeah, they were like, they've not really done anything since.
But anyway, we're talking specifically about Full Drive. This is probably, man, we've had so many sections like that just go on forever. So it's nice to just have one that's really short. This ran from October 23rd, 2017 to February 19th, 2018. It replaced Isobi Monogatari tilde Yukio wa Surai yo tilde by Ryo Nakama, who created High School Family, David.
I love High School Family. Are you?
No, I haven't actually, unfortunately.
Is B. Gomez. High School Family is about a normal high school student who start in high school, and he finds out that his entire family, his mom, his dad, his 10-year-old sister, and his cat have all enrolled in high school with him. Genuinely one of the funniest manga that's ever run in Shonen Jump.
Oh joy.
It's really good. But yeah, the series that replaced Full Drive is a little indie comic called Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't need to tell you anything about Jujutsu Kaisen, do I?
No,
really?
No, you don't. You don't need to tell me about domain expansion.
The series has started at the same time as Lysopene the Tamatoi Poodle by Koji Oishi. It's been going since 2017. A+ volumes. MaxyBee says it is complicated, whatever that means.
They're just not ready to commit.
Yeah, it was transferred to Jump Plus in 2018 with Chapter 38. And another series started at the same time as with David. Oh, it's Golem Hearts, which was our second episode.
Aww.
By Gen Osaka. We also re-looked at it at episode 52. So if you would like to hear our thoughts on it with a way better audio quality, check out episode 52 instead of episode 2. But we're talking about Full Drive today. That ran for 16 chapters, 3 volumes. But let's get into the goddamn plot summary. Tamashiro Dan is a quarter German kid living in Germany whose grandfather was known as Hagen Wolf. I believe David said that he did the math and
yes,
no.
I did the math, and his grandpa was born in the 40s.
Yeah, his grandpa was not a Nazi, although his grandfather's parents probably were. But Hagen Wolf was one of the greatest table tennis players of that generation. Yes, my friends, this manga is about ping pong. After his grandfather's death, Dan and his mom moved to Japan, where Dan is determined to take the ping pong world by storm. He first meets Shiraishi Marin, a 13-year-old ping pong prodigy, which is a fun alliteration to say. She is surprised when he plays her to a standstill, and Shiraishi is one of those manga characters who goes around talking about how beautiful she is and is pretty tsundere, Popcorn David.
She tells him that he should join the best table tennis after-school program, which he gets into by defeating Atsushi, an upperclassman. Marin then tells him that he now needs to join Ozono, the best ping-pong private middle school, which his mom just casually allows him to do because the offer, I think, forgot that he had established his mother as a character.
Imagine like your 13-year-old son comes home and is just like, hey, mom, fuck what we were doing before. I want to go to this private middle school. And you're just like, okay, sure, whatever. Yeah.
Oh my
whatever,
God, they did the same thing as Yu-Gi-Oh! Too.
I love the idea that she brought him to Japan and just didn't decide what school he was going to go to beforehand.
No, I think they transferred him.
Just like apparently in 2 days, it seems like 2 days later, he was at the private school. I agree with you, David. I feel like the author totally forgot. Oh, fuck. There's like a process to this, isn't there?
Yeah. So Don joins the school and is able to find the table tennis club with help from Koshino, who doesn't matter. And I deleted his character from the character section.
Because he doesn't matter. He's one of those characters where you can tell if this manga was a hit, would have mattered. But since it wasn't a hit, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And he meets a bunch of cool older kids. Don makes his intentions of domination known and is challenged to a match by Khan, one of his seniors. After a bunch of games, which took up way too many fucking chapters.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yes, yeah.
What a fucking way to kill the momentum of this series.
Especially so early, too.
The issue is, we'll get into it.
Yeah. Where Khan is slowly educating Don on why he sucks. Don manages to win, even though they didn't really establish him ever winning those games. They just say he does after the game.
Yeah.
Popcorn Common, and I think people can already tell our thoughts on this.
Yeah. Spoilers, I guess.
It is when our criticisms leak into the plot summary. It's not a good time.
Anyway, Don and Asushi hang out with Marin on her day off, which doesn't really matter, except it's kind of a date. And they had like this whole, like, I had like a moment when I was reading this chapter, and it's just like, they have like 2 older kids who are bullying kids over ping pong. And it's like,
yeah, which is very Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they're just like, hey, we're going to be bullies about the thing you're really good at. So we'll sort it through, we'll settle it through the mechanism of how the series works.
I feel like this has been in every sports manga we cover. Like, remember in Smokey BB, where like, which by the way, Kamen is a baseball manga. That's what the BB stands for.
Oh.
But yeah, in Smokey BB, like in like chapter 2, this pro baseball player who's like a little older than everybody else just shows up. He's like, oh, I'm so much better than all of you. And then the main character shows him up. That's exactly what happens here. I feel like it's in most of the sports manga.
Man, just imagine if there was a sports manga that was about paintball or BB guns.
That's Smokey BB.
There might be. I don't fucking know. There's probably a few canceled manga out there that have tried to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, MaxyBee's perking up. I bet it's something stupid. It's like Rainbow Shot or something like that.
Anyway, yeah.
But let's get into the character section. So, Common, can you tell us
Well,
a
he
little
didn't finish.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, we got so distracted.
No, it's fine. Then Dan must prepare for the big tournament where he's facing Nanjo Yukiya. I hope I pronounced that right.
It's fine. You're doing great.
You did a good job.
I have a tendency not to pronounce names like my biggest sin is Kakioin when I pronounce them like Kakiyan or something like that.
I've heard his name pronounced 2 or 3 different ways in official media, so it's okay.
Anyway, Nanjo Yukiya, a ping pong genius who actually hates ping pong and talks shit on Marin. During the match, Dan is doing really well, which makes Yukiya big mad. 4 years later, I guess.
Yeah, fuck you. We're just going forward.
Dan and Marin are now dating and reminisce about that time where they just beat Yukiya a chapter ago.
Yeah.
And then won the tournament as Dan prepares to head back to Germany to go pro.
Yep.
I'm actually glad that the manga did get like a proper ending and then just get canceled, but it's like, that's a big left turn.
It's a lot better than Smokey BB, which, like, they're still going until literally 5 chapters before the ending, where they just have the first match in the tournament, which they lose, and then in, like, the last couple pages, it shows the main female character, like, holding framed picture of them wearing, like, the medal, where it's like, they won the whole tournament.
They eventually just go like, look at this photograph. Doesn't it take you back?
Makes me laugh. You know, what the hell's on Joey's head? You know, is what I said.
There's like 3 different ways the manga can end. Like, so what are the 3, Jordan? Help me if I remember. So it's time skip to the end, pretend it doesn't end.
So there's one where it's like, jump forward. Oh, man, you know, that was cool. We did it.
Yeah.
The other one is where it's like,
They just shotgun the entire plot in 3 chapters.
They shotgun the entire plot.
Well, then there's just one where it just doesn't end, and you're just
There is no ending.
Where's the rest of this?
Yeah, there is no ending. And there's one where it's like, it's sort of in between where it doesn't end, but they're kind of just like, we're going to keep going. And then it's like, done, bye.
Yep.
Demon's Plan famously had one where it was just like, it seemed like it had another chapter. Like there was like sort of a cliffhanger that did not feel like the manga was even remotely over, but there just wasn't another chapter. It just...
Yeah, our researcher, MaxyBee, had to be like, no, there is no more material. This is actually how it ends. All right, but we're getting a little distracted. Let's talk about the characters now that we actually can. So, Kamen, do you mind telling us about Don, the main character?
Yeah,
Not
he's
Don to Don.
Don.
That's a good one.
Well, basically, Don happens to be quarter white. His grandpa was a prodigy in Germany.
He's a quarter light. He's like, he just has like a really small death note.
Yeah, it's a bunch of sticky notes.
It's the death sticky note.
If he sticks the note on you, that's how it triggers, is being sticky with the note instead of knowing their name.
Oh my god.
He's got the power of the spin. Unfortunately, he's not from part 7 of JoJo, where that would actually matter.
Now, if he was Italian.
Actually, no, that'd be more American, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's modest but confident. Kind of feels like, you know, kind of contradictory there, but I guess. And he has a special loop attack.
He's notably a kid who sucks at everything except ping pong.
Mm-hmm.
Like in class, he's like sleeping, kind of fucking sucks at that, and then everyone
that's also the
bullied
offer being
him,
like,
allegedly.
fuck, I forget. You actually have to go to school in Ping Pong Academy.
Yeah, it's clear he forgot. They say, I was bullied all the time, and then we don't ever see him get bullied.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I can make something, I feel like maybe the author wasn't expecting this one to be picked up. I kind of got that vibe, you know?
Yeah, it was like, man, yeah, what if I just made like a ping pong manga as like a joke and then was like, fuck, now I have to do it.
We had that happen in Earthchild, where if you read it and you're like, I don't know where this goes from here, and then you read the rest of the manga and you're like, yeah, near to the author.
Yeah,
wow.
No, Earthchild was like a decent one shot that shouldn't have gone past that.
Best one shot we ever read.
Yeah, not best, but like decent.
But yeah, so he's just kind of the generic, like, he only cares about ping pong, so he has no other character depth, which is like a trap. Like, this is a really, this series is just a great example of all the failings you can have when making a sports manga.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely save that for later. Jordan, do you want to tell us about Marin, the tsundere queen?
Shiraishi Marin, as we mentioned earlier, she is tsundere as fuck. To the point where she honestly is really annoying sometimes. Like,
She just talks about how great she is all the time.
she's like, I'm beautiful. I'm so great. Oh man, aren't I so beautiful? And she's like such a prodigy to the point where it's like she's super famous, which made me kind of feel like this was almost a Yu-Gi-Oh universe where it's like, you know, You know how in Yu-Gi-Oh! Card games are like inexplicably the most important thing in the entire world? It kind of made me wonder if she's like an international superstar, is ping pong just like way more important than I thought it was?
In Yu-Gi-Oh! It makes sense because the character I would probably say fits that would be Kaiba. Kaiba actually did what he could because he turned his father's weapon company into a gaming company and made a deal with Pegasus. So it kind of makes sense why the world would take that way, because it was like, oh, we don't want to make weapons of war anymore, so we might as well solve things through card games. Because ironically, it does get bloodier in some instances, but it's not as, you're not expecting like an entire nuke to come out of a card game,
Also, they have giant holographic 3D representations that seem real, and the cards are literally magic. So that makes more sense in that world. I wish there was like some supernatural thing with the ping pong. That would be great. But there was not.
Well, it doesn't even have to be supernatural either. It could be like digital too.
Do you think ping pong academies are real? Like, it's such a weird sport to be that hyper-focused in.
I don't know.
To be fair, there are actually schools for like other things, like there's karate school and there's school for chess. I wouldn't be surprised if there were actual ping pong schools, but they probably wouldn't be like, massive. They'd probably be like, like clubs or be like part of like an athletics school,
Yeah. I also want to say one last thing. I really want to give the author props for, well, he definitely sexualizes her, but not to the insane degree we've seen in other manga, like Black Clover. Like, she actually is drawn like a 13-year-old.
Like, the only time that I had raised an eyebrow was basically like in the first chapter where there was an upskirt shot, but there was like this huge like word balloon right there that covered up everything, which, I appreciate.
It was on purpose.
Yeah.
We've read manga that really likes 12-year-olds, and we're not going to go into that.
Oh, you poor souls. You poor, poor souls.
Oh, don't read School Judgment. Oh, it was bad.
God.
I am surprised that their romance takes off in the last fucking chapter, which pissed me off because I guessed that it would go nowhere.
Yeah, it was really stupid.
And they just have fallen in love in the 4-year time skip. All right, but let's get into the next character. So we have Atsushi Nurukawa, I think.
Narakawa Atsushi.
Yeah, that guy. He is determined. He's top player. He's always fresh, but I don't know if he's really the top player because it's like weird where he is in the hierarchy on their team. But he's like supposed to have probably been the rival, but the main character beats him in their first encounter. So it's like, are they rivals? Like, you already beat.
I don't think he's supposed to be a rival. I think he's.
I don't really know what his purpose was.
I mean, technically speaking, like, rivals don't have to beat you in the first one. I mean, look at Kaiba and Yugi. I mean, Yugi beat him in their first match.
Yeah, but Kaiba's got a lot more going on.
Yeah.
If this went on, I feel like he would have kind of been a mentor figure. I mean, the thing is, there's like 5 mentor figures.
He's like the only freshman on a team of like pros.
Also, damn, his hair looks good, man.
Yeah.
This fucking kid, man.
It does hair really well for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a character that doesn't have hair in the 13th chapter, and it's like, oh dear God, he's like a thumb.
Yeah. And then, so I guess, Common, can you tell us about the last character, Mr. Zoomer, always on their phone?
Oh, we're not going to talk about Can?
Always on their phone.
Yeah.
Okay, Nanjo Yukiya. He's a fucking dick. He loves Clash of Clans, although personally I consider him more of a Raid Shadow Legends kind of guy.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what it is. He's playing Raid Shadow Legends. His favorite YouTuber got paid to sponsor it, so he's like, yeah, let me check it out. And he doesn't even care that the game sucks. By the way, Raid Shadow Legends, we will edit that out if you pay us. We can be bought.
I've already sold my soul to them a few times, so it's like, I don't care.
Hey, you got to get that money. No disrespect.
Especially in this economy. But anyway.
I respect it.
He hates table tennis, and he's from a family of doctors, which doesn't really matter, I guess.
It's sort of implied that, like, he did table tennis because he sucked at school, and so his parents, like, he heard his parents basically saying, damn, our son's an idiot. So he, like, became really good at table tennis to be like, look, I'm a genius, actually. Look, I'm not stupid. Nah, I'm good at shit.
That was actually one of the plot points of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, where it's like Chaz, his brothers were like prodigies, and they're like, well, you're going to take over the Yu-Gi-Oh! World to make up for the fact that you can't do business shit. And then it's the same thing where he loses to the main character. Now he has nothing.
Oh, yeah, not actually. That actually worked for him, too, because he had to claw his way up to the top again.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love, though, how the manga, I guess he kind of forgot he was ending, so he dedicates so much time, and he's like, oh, fuck, I really shouldn't have spent like 3 chapters on this dude at the end of the series, and just drops it.
So basically, the conflict between Yukiya and Don is that Yukiya he's like a prodigy to the point where he like represents Japan in the nationals or internationals or whatever. But the thing is, like, he fucking hates table tennis, and he's like, playing a match is like going to hell. It's like, damn, dude. He's like, I'm gonna show you hell in this match.
All right.
But speaking of that, yeah, let's get into more reasons why this manga failed.
Yeah.
So, Kamen, what really stands out to you as some issues with the series?
Well, I actually have like 3 specific things I wanted to bring up with this.
Oh, do it.
The first is that it lacks like imagination, because I get it. I am not a sports manga fan, but when you look at some things like Hikaru no Go or, The Prince of Tennis, they really play around with the camera work right there, and it makes it a lot more epic. This manga tries it, but at the same time, it doesn't really do much, especially considering that in ping pong, you're most of the time just taking like a step to the right or left, and unless you're doing like the whole thing with like the huge ceiling in one of the chapters against Dan. I mean, yeah, against Can.
Don and Khan.
Yeah, Don. It doesn't really stick out. Now, normally when you have like stuff that is kind of boring, like, especially if you go like, I'm going to be making like a reference to Card Fight Vanguard.
Which I've actually watched.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be a rival of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a more modern take on card game shows and stuff. They actually had a manga too.
What's that called?
Card Fight Vanguard.
Yeah, it's in our TCG.
Yeah.
Ooh.
My friend Nigel actually played it.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good game. Unfortunately, it didn't get as much traction in the States as I would have liked. And that, when they were playing games, they were playing like a game, they would often imagine themselves as being like the lead monster and imagine the monsters. You could have done something similar to this, where they basically have like the match be more an imaginative state, like imagining like the ping pong ball was basically an energy orb or something, like 2 warriors clashing. Like, imagine like how, Food Wars often has like those really over the top like scenes and stuff like that. Not the fan service part right there. I'm talking obviously not for this.
Yeah,
I know they had like a JoJo reference between like Ebby and Lobster and stuff like that. Stuff like that would really, heighten this up. Maybe that Dan imagines himself in various scenarios against his opponents, and that helps him focus. Something like that would have been really good.
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on it where it's like they do try some different camera angles, but all it does is make the manga more confusing.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to figure out where the ball's going and like how fast it's going, if it's getting missed or not, which are all very important things in ping pong. It kind of turns into a situation where I just have to read the dialogue to figure out, well, was that good or bad?
Yeah, there was a lot of scenes where, like, again, I didn't actually know he beat Khan in that game until they were like, oh, and then he beat Don. And I was like, when did that happen? I do not like
Khan, but yes.
I love how we're mixing the two up.
That brings me to another thing, which is that match between Khan. The author really fucked up by having it like
6 chapters, I think.
Yeah.
No, the reason that it became that way is that the author had them do like a 5-game match, first to 3 wins. So it should have just been 1 game.
Or best of 3 even.
Like, maybe, but I mean, even it would have been better if it was way fewer games so we could actually focus on the games, because what happens is, like, Don will do 1 good thing and then it's like, whoa, he won the match 11-2. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Where were the fuck ups? Where were the other victories? What happened?
Yeah, that's my other issue, is like the pacing with this, because it is like at parts it'll be like really slow and then it'll go to a breakneck pace and then it goes slow again, especially like with the last and with the against Khan chapters and such. When you're doing a manga or any kind of story, you don't want to linger too long on a specific scene, especially early on, because otherwise you're going to get like people who are being bored, even if it's like you have the most epic of battles. It's kind of like the same thing that people complained about with like, filler in One Piece, or how Dragon Ball Z fights would take many episodes to get through,
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand why that's done, but for a new series, especially at the beginning, this is something that can easily kill interest in your story.
Yeah.
This is why I think that the author didn't know what he was doing, or didn't think that this would have gotten through, because otherwise it feels like this is just like a rush thing, or trying to build up time so we could figure out where he wants to go with the story.
That was a big issue from chapter 1 the entire time. I was like, what is the actual long-term plot of this manga? And I don't think they ever actually answer it. Like, there isn't some tournament, there isn't some status. He's already really good at his sport. There are two different directions when it comes to sports manga: is either the person learning to get good at the sport, or the person learning to kind of flesh out the rest of his life outside of his skill in the sport. And this series, and definitely, like, for instance, Slam Dunk is a great example of someone's progression learning the sport. I 21 is opposite, where he's already in the top 1% of people in his sport. So it's all about everything else besides literally his ability to play the sport, relatively speaking.
I also kind of feel like the author should have just given up on the romance. Like,
oh, well, he did. And then he was like, oh, I contractually have to resolve this plot.
I still wanted to do this, so let me do it. And then the last chapter, with like very little build up, the main character's like, hey, Marin, by the way, I love you. And then she's like, I love you too.
Now, this isn't my third one, but there was actually hints of there possibly being a love triangle with one of the other female students. I can't remember.
She asked him out and he like turns her down or something, I think.
He's just too dumb to know what's happening, I think. Is like, you know, that kind of trope where it's like he doesn't even realize that she's into him. And then you can tell when Marin shows up and she's like, whoa, Marin is interested in him? It's like, man, haha, those women, you know what I mean? They get a little bit of rivalry. Haha, now she's into him. Now she's into him. You know what I mean? Haha.
Of course, this leads into my third issue, and that's the characterization. That's like, we've been hinting at it throughout this entire discussion so far, but Dan is just not an interesting main character.
No, he's not.
No.
And it's like, you got like, I talked about this in like my Mashle video, where there's like always like, you got this standard anime protagonist, you know, with the spiky hair, he's young, he's got like, he's either dumb in something, but he's also a talented at another thing. It's like, this is what people complain about when they talk about like stereotyping main characters in like anime and manga.
Well, beyond that, it's not just that he's not interesting, it's that it's kind of hard to get a gauge on what his character actually supposed to be.
I don't know what his motivation is.
Well, beyond that, it's just kind of like, he seems like a really nice guy and he seems to love table tennis, but like he goes to like play against the seniors and all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna defeat all of you. And they're like, man, he's being a total asshole right now. Yeah, that's cool. And like, he plays like a cheeky bastard. And it's like, wait, who is this guy? I thought he was just like a nice dude. Like, I'm very confused now.
And there was like some etiquette about if you gain a point using a certain technique, you're supposed to apologize because it's like a bullshit, and he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't.
This actually ties in where it seems like the series changes when they're playing ping pong. I was going to say this in Miscellaneous thoughts, I'll bring it up now. Like, it's like Final Fantasy VII where you have character models that are out of combat and then in combat, and you see the characters get drawn different during the ping pong scenes.
Yes.
Which ties into how his personality also changes. So I'm just imagining this is Double Taisei.
Oh.
Double Taisei kicks ass. Double Taisei kicks fucking ass.
You know what they should have done with this sort of idea? They should have done like the One Punch Man thing where they make Saitama look like this goofy motherfucker most of the time, but when he gets serious, he gets all super detailed and he's got like this menacing look to him, even though he's Captain Baldy or Caped Baldy.
It is literally a parody of manga.
I know, I get that, but at the same time, I'm talking our art direction.
And by the artist of iShield 21.
Yeah, iShield 21 does that, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this doesn't execute the idea well. They just look like the artist is like had someone start drawing the characters for him during those sections.
But also, like, I do have to point out, along with the art, along with like the confusing aspects, there are times where it's like the ping pong table is over their heads, or the ping pong table, it's drawn so that it's like behind them.
Yeah,
and like it's supposed to be metaphorical, but it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it has to stem from like the whole thing right there, because unless you're doing like a Balls of Fury thing, making a story about ping pong is not going to be that interesting unless you like take it to a fantastical manner, you know?
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about it and then where it could have gone. So two other things is they also completely gloss over doubles, where he spends like half a page talking about doubles matches and they just show it. And I'm like, shouldn't that have been like a big deal? That's like another major component of playing ping pong.
Yeah.
And it was his first ever doubles match and they just don't give a shit.
It also could have been a time for him to bond with Marin.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's sort of something seeming to be there just by, like, narrative implications, but they haven't actually shown any kind of moment where the character's like, I don't know, I kind of like her. All right, yeah. And then just for, like, a page, they're like, we got to do doubles matches. This is weird. Never done it before. It's over.
Yeah, there's like, they could have a scene where they're chasing over the ball and they trip over each other.
or crashed into each other, and maybe
Yeah,
have
it's like easy. It's easy.
and maybe even have one of those awkward moments where like he's on top of her or she's on top of him, that kind of thing that they usually do with like, oh, we bumped into each other in the hallway, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oops, we tripped. Now my butt's on your face. Uh-oh.
Not with these characters, not their
Don't
age.
do that. Don't do that, but that's something I would expect from a manga.
Yeah, the last thing is also this manga does not give a fuck about anything that's not related to ping pong, and it does a terrible job of pretending it does.
Yeah.
Like this author was so goddamn lost in the sauce when it came to just wanting to talk about ping pong all the time.
Or how about the fact, like, I respect that one of the major things here is the main character's like, I don't want to be judged by my grandfather's success, but as a result, it creates a situation where it's like, does it even matter that we know his grandfather is like this? Like, it's completely irrelevant to anything. It doesn't come up. He may as well just not be. It's like, why do I care?
Yeah, but you know what I do care about?
What?
Is what the series did well. So why don't we move into that topic?
Okay.
Sure.
While the art has issues, it does still have a great job of actually making you follow the panels. Like you'll see the motion lines literally, they'll send a serve and the motion line leads you to the next panel. And those are those little things that are very easy for sports series to fuck up. So while it does have issues, that's at least one of the fundamentals I think it did right. And that's just, it fucks up so many other things, but I want to at least give it credit for not fucking up that,
Mm-hmm.
I will say the art in general is pretty good in this series. Like, it's not great. I feel like with sports manga in particular, you really have to have good art.
Yeah. I recently read a boxing manga that had terrible proportions where it's like boxing is like one of the most important sports to have ever improperly proportioned,
Mm-hmm.
Like, get your anatomy right.
Yeah, especially in like with that, you have to make sure like weight classes now the people actually look like they're in the right, weight brackets.
Mm-hmm.
This manga had a kid whose whole thing was that one of his arms was way bigger than the other one. Oh, we made a lot of jacking off jokes, don't worry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that reminds me of like that one Homer Simpson gag where he just kept on lifting a dumbbell for like about a few months, and then Mo basically goes, hey, why don't you come with me? We'll scam people out of money with arm wrestling.
But yeah, his whole thing was he would dislocate his arm while punching, and it was like that's not good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's a way to end your boxing career.
There's actually a little fun thing I used to learn from my Taekwondo teacher. He would always tell me about this one student who had lost his arm in a car accident.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but he learned a move that the only way you could get out of was to grab the other person's arm. And so he kept on using that lock and he kept on winning tournaments because he didn't have the arm that you had to grab to get out of it.
Oh, that rules.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, that kicks ass.
Does anyone have any positives they want to say about the series?
I mean, there has to be. This series didn't suck.
Honestly speaking, I didn't hate the characters. Like, they weren't like jerks. Even the jerk character, I understood. And I understood where he's coming from because, sometimes when you are basically good at something, it'd be kind of like a waste not to do it. Like, if you were good at, say, I don't know, art, and you were just basically going like, well, I might as well use that talent. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a doctor. I might as well do art because it's easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not easy, but yeah.
The hairstyles in this are actually pretty tame, and they're actually good.
If you styled your hair like that one guy Atsushi, you end up with like a good hairstyle, man. This isn't Yugi shit.
Yeah.
This could exist, but it's still very stylish.
Yeah.
I kind of really liked the conflict between Yukiya and Dan because what they were saying was a lot of the explanation for why Yukiya was the way he was is that when you compete at something for so long, it stops being just, it stops being a thing that you do for fun, starts being a serious thing that has like stakes. And so it's like, this is no longer just like a goofy thing. This is like, no, this is like my job almost. You are fucking with my job. Whereas Don has never competed before. So that's like an interesting kind of explanation because it's like, it's not just that Don magically likes it more. It's that Don hasn't been put in that position. Like, not to jump into the next section already, but it's like, you could have had a thing where it's like, as the series went on, Don became more jaded with it and he wound up more like Yukiya.
Becomes punished on.
Yes.
Yeah.
He loses an eye in the ping pong.
And then you can have a thing where Yuki is like, now I must show you how to like how to enjoy table tennis
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, this is actually something I wanted to bring up that, I was kind of hoping they would do, but they kind of, didn't because they kind of, but it's something for the next section, though.
Let's just go to the next section. It seems like that's what we're interested in talking about now.
Let's ball. So, Common, continue that thought.
Earlier in like the versus con chapters and stuff like that, we see Dan basically tossing the ping pong into his less dominant hand. And it's like, you know what would have been a fun idea for him is that when he was just like getting into like the ping pong club, he accidentally slips and he sprains his right arm. I thought it would be a cool idea if he was basically having to learn how to use his left hand since it's not his dominant one and basically, train that. It would give him much more perspective and he'd have to explain how he's doing it too, because that would actually be good because, this prodigy is now injured and has to basically reteach himself, but has more of a disadvantage.
First of all, that's like just an interesting kind of idea for like some kind of story.
Yeah.
But like, what if there was like a thing where Don switches hands and he was just like, fool, this is actually my dominant hand. Yeah, somebody was going to do that.
I haven't shown you my true power yet. Changes hands.
Yeah.
Doesn't he switch hands during one of his matches?
Yeah, he did. I think it was versus the Dan chapter.
Yeah. The Don Saga.
Don Kakan.
Don. We keep mixing up the names. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan Saga.
It's so funny because they don't even call him Don much. It's Tamashiro, how they call him. But Don is just easier for us to pronounce, so we're all just calling him Don.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this series, the romance came out of fucking nowhere, and that seemingly was supposed to be like important. So like, I don't know, maybe in the first chapter when Marin meets Don, maybe she kind of develops a crush on him.
Maybe she did.
And like, it's a little more, well, maybe she did, but it could have been more like explicit, more apparent kind of, because it seems like if it was there, it was way too subtle. Like, it did not seem like there was a romance there.
Take like a more jaded route, you could have made her like be a huge fan of his grandfather, and learning that the man that she kind of like was inspired by has a grandson who's just basically this little lazy goofball. That could have been like a good thing right there. It could be like, oh, I'm gonna mold you into the man that your grandfather was. Something like that could have been a good idea.
That would have meant that his grandfather being important would have mattered in the series.
Yeah, no one gave a shit. They were all like, who?
Did not matter. There were so many moments where it's like, I can't wait for when this guy finds out who his grandpa is, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. On the note of romance, it would have been nice if they had actually had female characters that actually interacted with the main character besides her. Because there's one character whose entire purpose is to fall in love, but it's like, you don't even have like a female manager or something that like will regularly show up during the games. It's like, there's nothing.
I mean, there was a teacher, I think, and then there was also like, I'm just gonna call him Raid of Shadow Legends player now. His mother showed up a few times.
Maybe it would have been better for this to be more of a deuteragonist kind of thing. It seems like that's where it was trying to go and then failed. Like this series is 70-30, Don and Marin. I would have liked it to be more 50-50, Like first chapter, maybe you kind of line it up like that, and it's like, oh man, when these two meet. Because then what you would have done is they mention, oh, there's like a female league. Like there's a league of table tennis for girls, and I'm kicking ass there. And it's like, I kind of would have liked to see that more.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been nice also if they had talked more about how Don's kind of socially awkward, where you see he has like trouble maintaining his personality in the match. And maybe that's like the development for him, as I talked about earlier, how technically he's a very good player. So we don't really need to see him learn how to get better at ping pong. But that doesn't mean he still can't get better at other things. Like maybe he doesn't have any friends in Japan. Talk about how he's socializing with people. That's a really easy way that you can fit in, the non-ping pong elements.
Here's something else, too, that kind of went under the radar. He spent most of his life in Germany, and yet he's really to acclimate to, like, Japanese culture and customs all that quickly?
I mean, you saw how fast Asuka did it.
I know, but at the same
that wonderful documentary, Evangelion.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got a fish out of water character here, and you don't really use it. That would have been good, too, because maybe he has trouble reading Japanese, or maybe he has trouble speaking Japanese.
Yeah, that's true.
I also thought it was funny how it's like, we can't have a fully German character in a manga. He's just a little German, okay? He's mostly Japanese, guys.
That would have actually been cool if he was Caucasian and they actually brought in those like awkward social elements, and he really, really has to prove himself to his teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we haven't had Caucasian characters. I mean, like JoJo started with like English characters, you know?
I'll never forgive the Japanese. God. Well, we talked about in the chibi, his grandpa was dressed like Dio.
At the very least, they didn't take the von Stroheim approach.
Oh God.
This would have been the best fucking manga of all time if he's losing and he thinks, or his mom gives him a paddle and it's like it brushes under it and then it says Zapelli on it and he just uses the fucking spin in the match and it just turns into part 10 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
It was a secret part 10, and then like you read the next chapter and it's just like the name of the author, the original author, is crossed out and it just says Hirohiko Araki.
Or it was an anagram. It's like a Tom Riddle thing.
Oh fuck.
Oh God, that would have been so fun.
That's like Frog Fractions 2 level of like.
There's a problem with this. There were no dogs that were being messed up in this.
You're right.
Yet. It was like just like there was like a new chapter where it's like, where do you think we get the rubber for the for the table for the paddles?
No,
what do you think's in those ping pong balls?
That's dog rubber.
God. All right, we're gonna miscellaneous spots. Let's get into that because we're not gonna top whatever Rocky wrote ping pong manga. Jordan, I don't know if we want to continue that thought or start a new miscellaneous spot.
Has there ever been ping pong in JoJo? It seems like there should be.
Most I can think is like maybe the Clackers, or the only other thing I can think of is like that one boss against Ganondorf in Legend of Zelda.
I mean, in JoJo, I just feel like there should be one stand fight where it's just a dude playing ping pong. Like, that would fit JoJo, though. You can't tell me that wouldn't fit in JoJo.
I mean, you can pretty much fit anything in JoJo nowadays.
Yeah.
Name of the ping pong stand be?
Probably I Am the Table or something, which is a Metallica reference.
No, Great Balls of Fire.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's really good.
Oh my God. But yeah, or Balls to the Wall. That's one. Yeah, they say the word noob a lot in this series.
I had not seen the word noob written in maybe 10 years.
I was shocked.
I'm wondering if that's more of a translation error thing right there.
Had to be.
This reminds me of one of my favorite tweets where there was like some anime that made a D's nuts reference. And then you just see a bunch of Japanese character and then the word D's nuts written in English and then more Japanese. And it's like someone explaining on Twitter the D's nuts reference. I want to find that tweet. It's just like my favorite tweet ever.
I really want to see that. Yeah. D's nuts. Yeah. So that was the name of a presidential candidate a few years ago.
I don't know how to explain this, but the paneling kind of reminded me of Tagashi. I think it's the fact that he has a lot of panels and then he has like a portrait of, or not a portrait, but like a full body shot of someone standing over the panels, which I feel Tagashi does a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, also, do you notice that people all have like that same super rigid pose all the time where it's kind of like their equivalent of like the Shaft pose where they're just looking like really rigid and like looking kind of down and like their shoulders straight. And I just noticed all the characters are constantly doing that pose in full body shots.
The Shaft pose.
Yeah, not to keep going back to JoJo, but one of the things that really like makes characters unique is how they're actually posed to be more like models. And I get it, like there's certain stances in ping pong you can't take, but at the same time, it's a manga. You're allowed to be over the top. You're allowed to be goofy as all hell.
David, you want to go into the Shaft pose? Because I've never heard of that.
It's the Shaft head tilt where there's a certain angle where someone shifts their head up and
the Shaft movie?
No, the animation studio Shaft.
Oh, okay.
I will send you a picture right now. 1 second. Do you know what I'm talking about, Kamen?
I think I have an idea on what you're talking about. I've seen the pose before. Basically just one of those standard poses that you see like people like who are just, just standing around not doing anything other than just looking like, oh, I'm cool. Oh, I'm intimidating.
Yeah, it's essentially you trying to face someone when your body is facing the opposite direction. You rotate just your head to look at them.
And your head is faced up. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the Shaft head tilt. It's like how Gainax has the Gainax pose where it's like your two arms crossed in a specific way. It's like their signature where characters will just do it as like a reference.
It kind of reminds of the whole, Akira bike scene,
I never knew that was like a Gainax pose, but I know exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Man, Gunbuster's good. Watch Gunbuster. So much better than Die Buster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Also, did you guys feel like there was a bit of a homoerotic, or was it just me where I just felt I kind of got some soft yaoi vibes?
I mean, you kind of get that with a lot of sports manga from what I've read.
Although I do really like it when Atsushi's just like, man, men are cool. Men are the best. That's like the gayest this manga gets. They do hit the showers, which is kind of, you know.
Honestly, it kind of has more of like that locker room feel. Like, have you ever seen like shows that to go into like sports and have like locker room scenes? You see like these guys just basically going, "Hooah!" It's more like a bro thing going on, you know?
Bros showering together, being squeaky clean.
Just two boys, just two guys. You know.
All right. Does anyone have our ones, or should I get MaxyBee's thoughts?
Let's go to MaxyBee's thoughts.
Yes, speaking of people I would shower with. No, sorry, MaxyBee. My God, what a fucking. So from MaxyBee, our wonderful manga historian, I am too. I guess I should say that as also a deal breaker. Viz Media ran this in their digital magazine for its first 3 chapters as part of its Jumpstart initiative. They didn't continue for some reason.
Weird.
Volumes 2 and 3 contain 2 one-shots, meaning at least half of each volume is not actually this manga. The author states that he focused a lot on fashion with Marin, as girls look best when dressed up, and otherwise she'd be in a jersey all the time. Chapter 11...
Mari does have some fits in this, I will say.
I mean, to be frank, I mostly wear jerseys all the time myself, so I don't see a problem with that.
I'm wearing one right now that just says Ghost Sports on it, because I don't know anything else. Chapter 11 has extra pages to promote the series. According to the author, the chapter was well received for its focus on Marin and improved the series rank temporarily, so it kind of worked, and then it was canceled 5 chapters later.
Yep.
Volume extras include comedy sketches, profiles, 3-page strip where Don and smart characters go to McDonald's, one-shots, and pure conjecture. But reading the one-shots before Full Drive got published makes me think the author is a big fan of the creator of Rave Master and Fairy Tail and the creator of Law of Yuiki. Like, his early style is just uncanny like both of them. I didn't really feel the Rave...
No.
Well, I guess maybe Rave Master, but definitely not Fairy Tail, because Fairy Tail just kind of seems like someone ripping off Oda.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, as MaxyBee kind of put there, I think the implication is that that's not, you wouldn't get that from just Full Drive. Like, you wouldn't, like, it sounds like that is much more apparent in his earlier work and not in this manga.
Yeah. And then how about let's get into final verdicts? Sound good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's kick things off with some 6-word summaries from the community. Tucker, short, sassy, and a little beautiful. Hey, that's me. MaxyBee, series averages, das is not good. Or Paladin.
Do not ask David to pronounce German.
Fine, you pronounce that second fucking word that he wrote.
You know, I actually speak German. I am part German, but it's like...
How's your ping pong skills?
Look, the last time I played ping pong, the guy had a black eye, okay?
Okay, let me try. Serie abgesetzt, das ist nicht good. I know the second part is this is not good. This is not good. I think that's pretty clear. But look, the second word is very hard to pronounce. Huh?
Serie abgesetzt, das ist nicht gut.
But he said.
Yeah. Wow. Perfect time and have a guest that speaks German on this
Thank fucking God.
I'm not proficient, but I know how to speak some of it.
You know how to pronounce it at least. That's good.
Or Paladin says heartbreaking. Table tennis score 0 love. That sounds like a fucking clickhole article. Diego says, with help from Grey Potter, Don's pong fell to the axe ping. Dude rocks. It's ping pong, not table tennis. Okay. I don't know if that was a 6-word summary, but it was 6 words. Isekai Sensei perfectly played ping pong, preserves perceptively.
Perceptivity?
Yes, that sounds right.
Well, there's a tivity. It ends tivity.
Is that a word? I've never
heard that either.
Google takes it.
All right.
Captain Clueless. Wait, this isn't Kamen Rider Drive? Portal Man thought this was a racing manga.
That's what it seems like from the title. I don't blame you.
Resident Warhammer nerd, about people playing with their balls.
It's true.
Real, I don't understand table tennis rules. Spubby, Shrimpy Schoolboy, superbly strikes shrunken spheres. Spike, a ding-dong playing ping pong.
Hey.
The Duke of Dumbass. Read wrong manga, Full Drive's better? No. T. Wolfwood, I Riley method this. So uninteresting. Well done. So essentially common for some context. The Riley method is from our guest who read 1 in 4 chapters and we didn't notice during the recording because of how little happens in those chapters.
Yeah.
So that's the Riley method.
Oh, God.
The manga Biichi.
Yes, by the creator of Soul Eater and Fire Force.
Yes.
Wow.
Very bad manga.
We are one of 10 people that have read all 3 of his manga.
Yes.
And then from Dackerson, I polish my rubber every day in quotes because that's a quote from Khan. How he talks about polishing his paddle.
Oh, man.
All right. And then my 6-word summary is has 1 game and 0 plot. Because, God, so much time was spent on that fucking tutorial game.
Yeah.
How about you, Jordan?
I already made this reference earlier, but Metallica. I am the table tennis.
All right. I think I got one.
Lay it on us.
Too much can, too much Dan.
Nice.
I love it.
It got canned.
And then I think this breaks my heart because this first chapter was good, but this is definitely a flop. Does anyone disagree that this was a flop?
No.
I feel like there was something there, but it feels like I said, it feels like the author didn't expect this to take off.
Yeah. 16 chapters, though, is not a very long run time.
This isn't terrible. It's just not great.
It doesn't have that thing that really captures you in it.
I wish there was like a French term for something like when there's something missing, you know, or like a certain quality.
I'm sure there is, but
I can't think of it.
I'm not French.
Yeah, so certain je ne sais quoi. And then, so since this was a flop, I would say watch a chess boxing match because I just like talking about chess boxing. Unironically, though, Blue Box is pretty much a fixed version, which is no surprise. This guy knew the guy who made Blue Box. He made fan art for Blue Box. It's pretty much a fixed version of this where the romance element isn't completely shitting the bed. I really like it. Jordan, I actually read the first three volumes, if you recall that series, Jordan.
Oh, yeah, Blue Box is good.
People can listen to our thoughts on our Patreon episode on Blue Box. And then, Jordan, what would you recommend?
So yeah, this is a flop. I would recommend that one video from like over 10 years ago where like those two guys are playing ping pong.
Matrix ping pong?
Yeah, Matrix ping pong. You know,
dude, that video is more than 10 years old.
Yeah, it's an ancient internet video, but it kicks ass. I would recommend.
That was when people
unironically
unironically said the word noob is from that era.
Ironic, right?
Yeah.
And then how about you, Kamen?
Well, honestly speaking, if you're looking for ping pong stuff, I would suggest the movie Balls of Fury.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a manga suggestion, I would suggest maybe Mashal or maybe Undead Unluck.
Ooh.
If you have a chance to join our Discord, we have a huge Undead Unluck community, and they've been trying to get me to make a dedicated channel for that series. So I can send you an invite if you want to be in some good company.
I know nothing about that series.
It is a good manga. It is a really funny one, too.
Now that I'm catching up on Black Clover, which was my current punching bag series, I'll have to maybe Jordan will do an episode and read Undead Unluck.
David was making fun of Black Clover for being mid for so long, and then we finally read the first 3 volumes, and we were like, "Wait, this is actually pretty good." Shit.
I still stand by my opinion that I think Black Clover is the quality line where if you are worse than Black Clover, you are not a good manga. It is the most 7 out of 10 series.
I mean, also, if you want like a more school-based show that has like, interesting characters, Kamen Rider Gotchard is pretty good so far.
Ooh.
It's actually got an alchemy feel to it now.
I was going to ask if like you were into Kamen Rider based on your name. You had to be, right?
No, he just has that name for fun.
Actually, it is. I can actually tell you that my name is actually a play on both Kamen Rider and Mangaka because, MangaKamen.
That's really
mangaka.
good.
I actually had ideas for becoming a mangaka one time, but it's like I really just haven't had really much of a chance to really do that because life is like that, So, but hey, game design, yay!
Game design's easier. Yeah. Doesn't take as much time,
I watched Kamen Rider, I think, B or Hornet. But that's my only exposure to the series. But I really enjoyed watching it.
Are you talking like Kabuto? It was basically a Red Rider that had like a beetle motif. He had the ability to speed up time.
I thought it was like Kamen Rider B or something.
There is a B, but he's called Zabi, and he's a rival rider in that series.
Ooh.
Oh, you're right. It is Kabuto I was thinking of.
Honestly, the latest writers are actually pretty good. You guys should check them out.
What's the best Kamen Rider series in your opinion?
I thought Kabuto is. That's why I watched it. It was at least the time it was considered like the one to get started with.
Okay, I have to ask you a question. I know we're getting off topic, but let me ask you, do you prefer something more fantastical? Do you prefer magic-based? Also, there's actually a couple Kamen Riders that I think you guys may like. We actually have one that has people who worked on Gurren Lagann with it.
Whoa!
And we even have one by the Uro Butcher himself, Gen Urobuchi, since we brought up, Madoka.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Personally, I would recommend Kamen Rider W, which is it's an older series. It's one of the first ones from the Heisei era or Neo-Heisei.
Mm-hmm.
It's a detective story one, but the ones that I just brought up here, the one with the Gurren Lagann writers and editors and stuff, that's Kamen Rider Forze or Forze. It's basically a face rider.
I've heard people bring up Forze before in a positive way. What's your favorite one? I gotta ask.
Well, I do like W. It's my favorite one, but one that I really like is Kamen Rider Build.
Ooh.
It basically has this whole war thing going on, and it's got some of the most wicked designs. Not to mention when they transform, they have some of the best callouts like Full Metal Moonsault!
Fuck yeah. I will say I am historically more of a Sentai person.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Not there's anything wrong with that.
No. What do you think of like Ollinger? And what do you think of the new one that's coming out?
I think Jordan means he watched Power Rangers.
I watched Power Rangers and I watched Jetman. Jetman kicks ass, though. I love Jetman.
I think we're getting off topic, by the way. Why don't we talk about this as we're uploading our audio so Dylan doesn't have to go through this 20-minute discussion of commentary.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is not the worst series we've ever read because it's a straight flop.
No.
Getting to wrap up. I'm just imagining you getting into Dylan just speeds up our audio during this conversation and just it goes for like 30 seconds. Anyway, what I don't want to speed up though is me thanking you. So Kamen, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a ton of fun. I'm so glad we were able to make this recording happen. Where can people find you that want to get more MangaKamen in their life?
Well, I definitely do have a YouTube channel where I talk about video games and pretty much anything I want, especially like villains, rivals, all that sort of jazz. I have a Twitter, I have a Blue Sky. I also have like an Instagram where I've been posting art, but it's kind of like a little work in progress. Basically, I have a whole bunch of stuff going on these channels. I got projects going, and I appreciate you guys having me on as well.
Oh, well, it was an absolute pleasure. This was a blast. And then I also want to say, Jordan, thank you so much for making the opening ending theme, being a great co-host, and helping with editing.
Oh, thank you, David, so much for all the work that you do on this podcast, including the editing and just, structuring everything.
Oh, no problem. Props to Merliel for the awesome cover art. Find her online at Lyle Mer, and Nigel for being our generous art benefactor. Thank you, Dylan, for assistance with editing. You can find his podcast, Anime Out of Context, at animeoutofcontext.com. Thanks to Tucker and MaxyBee for assistance with pronunciation, translation, and other miscellaneous research. Find us on Twitter at Shonen Flopcast, Tumblr Shonen-Flop, and our website, shonenflop.com. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcast. Come join the Shonen Flop Discord. It's open to everyone, Patreon or not. Hang out with us, talk about anime games, or whatever else is on your mind. Find a link to it in the show notes or on our site. And if you've been enjoying the podcast and want to help us keep going, consider subscribing to our Patreon. Wouldn't be able to keep running the show without their support. You also get tons of bonus content, including monthly exclusive episodes. Jordan, what are we dropping in February?
We are covering, oh my god, what's the name? I know what manga it is. It's Family Secrets. Fucking
Seinfeld.
Huh?
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld's Family Secrets. We're covering our favorite anime, our favorite manga, Seinfeld.
Ichinose Family's Deadly Sin.
No, yeah, we're covering Ichinose's family, blah, blah, blah.
And then who is our guest?
Our guest was Rem from Anime Out of Context, or Anime Context, as David frequently pronounces it.
Actually, I listened to the Dungeon Meshi episode, nervous, and you know what? Rem gave it a 6.5. I'll take it as a W.
Rem hates anime. You have to understand this, MangaKamen.
Yeah. What did you just call me?
MangaKamen?
How dare you, sir?
How dare you?
What did I do?
It's not Kamen.
MangaKamen. MangaKamen sense.
Manga came in. It's his evil, bizarro version. I'm sure all persona. Oh, God. But yeah, so this dude hates anime and he just makes this podcast because his friend forces him to. And a 5 is like considered actually good in his book. So
yeah,
6.5 means like
fantastic.
All right. But you know what else makes me sleep easy is reading out some of our wonderful Patreon names. Oh, and also you can find our Patreon at patreon.com/shonenflop. So starting with our dolphin dads, we have Glormac, my wonderful wife, Rachel. I'm excited to go on an adventure with her today. And Sean, help me study the reproductive. Okay, no. Moving on down to the Ravioli tier, where you get weekly pictures of my little goblin dog, Ravioli, where I actually want to go check. So common for context, my dog Ravioli is very disproportionate, where her torso is really long. And I actually want to go do the math and figure out percentage-wise how disproportionate. Like, she is very, very long. Like, not to brag, but she is a long baby.
So long
yes.
Man.
Yes.
And we have patrons that pay to get weekly photos of her. So we have Chris, Eva, Karate Chopsticks, Lady T, Matt T, and Trevor Schechner. And then moving on down to our King of the Forest, I want to say thank you to 090Z, Bandit Stoof,
my girlfriend,
Chad Mason, Jacob Andrew Galloway, Kirby Munn, Marty, Max Baker, Question Time Jordan, last time you felt a woman's touch, wink, wink. And that's not appropriate.
I mean, I have a girlfriend.
Yes, Sarah Hydra, T. Wolfwood, and Tommy Boy. Also, a big thank you to our Galactic Ball Federation officers and our Beast Children. Oh, God. And Jordan, anything you want to toss in?
Check out Mission Ignition.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's his other podcast.
Yeah, about vampires. VAN-PIRES.
All that's left now is let's get in the sign off. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next Monday as we give our first thoughts on Saint Muscle. This has been David.
This has been Jordan.
And this has been Kamen.
Hey, you've been listening to Shonen Flop. You've been listening to Shonen Flop. You keep on flop floppers.
Okay, Jordan just took all my lines. Yeah, bye.
Bye.